Hello everyone, I'm Rick Jenkins, the publisher of SC Biz News, the media company serving about 100,000 high-level business executives in South Carolina. Welcome to SC Biz TV, and welcome to another episode in our ongoing video series, Coffee With. Today I'm having coffee with South Carolina State Treasurer Curtis Loftis. Known as the state's banker, Curtis manages, invests, and retains custody of about $60 billion in public funds. He also serves as the administrator of several important programs in the state, maybe the most important of which is the 529 College Savings Program or Future Scholars. Curtis Loftis, welcome.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome. It is good to see you. You know what? We were sitting in this studio a couple years ago when we had this conversation, and I am glad to have it again because it is extremely important.
I can't believe it's been a couple of years. But COVID, it's like a memory hole.
I know it. I can never remember now, when something happened. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's about working from home more or all the Zoom calls that I go through, but it's hard to keep track.
Yeah.
Curtis, you were elected in 2010. Man, you are almost finished with your third term.
Yeah, it's amazing. I never thought I'd go into politics.
Yeah.
I stumbled into it. And I didn't think I'd last because I'm a little rough and tumble. But it works out okay, and I hadn't really intended to run this time.
Yeah.
But ideas. You get something that you're really proud of, and you can't just turn it over to somebody.
That's right.
And I didn't have anybody raising their hand out there saying, "Hey, I'll work 60 hours a week." So
yeah,
I think I have one more term left in me.
Right. Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. So you'll be around for a few more years for us. You know what? There are things that you should be proud of, and I'm going to discuss those here in a second. But before we do that, you're a South Carolina boy, right? You're from Lexington County. You're a Gamecock. This is home, long-time home.
That's right. I looked out the window. I finished I'm the chairman of the banking board. I looked out the window yesterday afternoon, and I saw Dawn Staley's bus out there. And I said, I got to go out and see Dawn. Yeah. I want to be a champ. I want to be recognized with these folks, right? I chased them all over campus. I could never find them.
That's funny. But you tried.
Yeah, and isn't it exciting? I mean, it's great to have national champions.
Yeah, it is. Let's talk about the Future Scholar Program. But, I tell you what, before we do, you serve as administrator for two other really important programs, and I know one of them is really close to your heart, the Unclaimed Property Program, right? And then also the Palmetto Able Savings Program, which, of course, assists those with disabilities. So before we get into the College Savings Program, let's start with Unclaimed Property. Now, let me make sure I've got the number right. Since you have taken office, the state has returned $260 million in unclaimed funds to South Carolinians. And I tell you what, from what I understand, that is the most, if we counted all of the other former treasurers combined, $260 million is more than ever was sent out amongst all of those. And tell me about that program. And I know it's close to you, right?
I love it. We're not a wealthy state.
Yeah.
I mean, we've returned checks for like $1 million to people. And it's always shocking that you can have $1 million or $500,000, and they had no clue it was coming to them.
Right. I don't understand it. Yeah. Explain it to me.
I will just say, because it's a lot of fun. But you give a guy $1 million, and he thanks you. He's appreciative, right? He gets out of the office, you never hear from him again. Give a single mother $350, she'll cry, and she sends you a thank you note. It's amazing. Or $200 to a senior citizen. She's looking at her husband and laying on the sofa with early dementia. She says that's his medicine for 2 or 3 months. For her copay. It's phenomenal. The $250 million or $250 million we've returned is important, but the most important number is the $750 million we brought in. We go up north, we go out west, we go anywhere that there's our money centers, and we will audit them. It's all good and friendly unless they refuse to, and then it's not. But, we brought back $75 million from John Hancock alone, and within the first year gave back half of it. And some of that money had been around since the 30s.
Where does the unclaimed funds come from?
It comes from anything from that when you fell in love in college and you took off to the beach because that's where you had to go, but you left your cable bill or your cable deposit or your water deposit. It's old bank accounts. It's the commission check that they said they'd mail to you and they didn't and you forgot too. But nowadays it's odd. Like electronic taxes, which is the way to do it, by the way. Because I have to write all the checks that are actual checks, so electronic deposit is the way to go. People don't always cash them. And it's amazing. So we have a lot of tax returns, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 that just don't get cashed.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. We have a staff of 17 people who go out and get money, and then they help us return. But we don't have a budget for advertising, so it's hard for us. That's why I appreciate you very much letting us on here. Because your customers, the people who pay attention to what you're doing, are people who have a lot of things, irons in the fire. 501c3s here, they got for-profit businesses, little single-member LLCs that they forgot about. All of those things have money.
That staff of 17 people, they work directly on the Unclaimed Property Program?
That's right.
Really?
Yeah, it's a big program because the 750, that's a number that churns too.
Yeah, right.
So it's a lot to do, and we're excited about it. The most fun is when I get a hard case. Like we had a senior citizen lady down in Aiken, and I called her, tried to talk to her about her $566,000. She thought I was a crook, said so, and hung up.
Right.
So I have the head mason call because her daddy was a mason. It was her daddy who died. And he called her. She thought he was a crook, hung up. I called the county treasurer. He's a spunky guy. He's your guy. This is the guy you want for this. He goes down there. She didn't trust him. So finally, Aiken Representative Bill Hicks, I called Bill, said, Bill, you got to help me. And I gave him the lady's name, and he said, I know that family. I've been selling them insurance for decades. He goes down there, gets it worked out. She says, Bill, yes, I'll take that $566,000, but those other three guys are crooks. Turns out that we always do a final check. We had $200,000 in dividends for her. Her father had gotten stock every 2 weeks when he got paid, and nobody knew.
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
People that had stock in the dot-com bubble, and they thought it went away, and it came back, they didn't know. Right. One of the university presidents in South Carolina, I got to call him, I tortured him because he's a friend, $375,000. He had no idea.
What a great story that is. Lots of great stories there. I would imagine you experience them all the time.
It is fun.
Let's talk about the Palmetto Able Savings Program. Tell me about that.
That's something that's really important, and we have not advertised it enough because it came into being right with COVID. It's the college savings plan, effectively, except you use it more for daily living. And it's about folks with disability be able to save money because in this federally sponsored program, any money you put in there does not affect your benefits. If you have a child or a wife or a father or somebody who's disabled, that's the very first thing they think about. Is this going to affect my benefits? Because they can't let that go away. Right. But you can put money just like in a savings account or like a 529 account or an IRA effectively. You put that money in there, it can grow. They can spend it for, say, Uber to go to the doctor because they can't drive at 25. Things like that we don't think much about that aren't covered by the feds. It's a huge deal. So they can save money, they can accumulate that wealth, and it makes a lot of people, especially as they get older in life and they're worried about their children, they know they can still have that money in that account. Right. There's some limits and all that. I won't get into that. But the federal government did a great job with it. Set together so it's Palmetto Able, Treasurer's Office website's got all the information you need.
Yeah, we'll make sure it's up on the screen when we're doing this. Thanks for sharing that info. Let's talk about what we're here to really talk about, and that is the Future Scholar Program. Yeah. And we have a very successful one here in South Carolina, and a lot of that is because of you and your staff. We call it the smart and easy way to save for college. Tell us about it, and why is South Carolina's program so much better than so many others?
You know how we all, especially Republicans like myself, we like to get on government, General Assembly, point that finger.
That's right.
They conspired with the federal government, and they did a fantastic job. The Fed sent down these broad red guidelines, and then the state looked at it and said, well, maybe this is kind of complicated, so we'll let the treasurer do it. But they gave us this broad flexibility so we could start this fund and run it. When I took over the treasurer's office, we had a $1.1 billion. Now we have $6 billion. And it's not easy to really raise that assets under management because we have a short lifespan. It's not retirement where you're saving for 30 or 40 years. Right. Sometimes people will start when the kid's 12 years old or something. I had one guy said, I always thought my kid was kind of dumb. He wasn't going anywhere. At 12 years old, he started becoming an A student. So people can start it early. It's so flexible. If you're not even married, we suggest people start when you're not even married. Put it on yourself. And then when you are married or have children, you can transfer that without any cost, and you just got that much more time. So how it starts is you go to futurescholar.com. You can open an account in 30 minutes. There's not a fee. There's not a minimum. We fix it so you can open that account and have it ready. If you want to start drafting money or putting money, you can. That's fine. But we want to make sure you have it, because once you have it, you'll start it. We encourage people, what's the old saying, it takes a village? Well, I got a lot of nieces and nephews, and I'm not buying them anything. Their mamas and daddies got plenty. I don't know their shirt sizes or sweater size. I don't know what they need. I'll send them a card. If they have a Future Scholar account, I will put money in it. And that's the way everybody is. You want to help that education. So if you let your friends and family know, you'll be surprised how much money they'll put in that account. And if I put money in my nephew's account, say, I get a state tax deduction. Not the parents, I get it. So that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah. How many accounts have been opened? I mean, we're talking about 250,000 almost, right?
Yeah, we have over 200,000 active accounts now, and we put tens and tens of thousands of people through school already. And of course, it's so flexible. What's new, this happened about COVID too, so it's not all that well known yet. You can use it at K through 12 private school. It's only the tuition, and it's up to $10,000, but with the rare exception, schools don't cost nearly that much in South Carolina. So if you live in the country or you're far away from school, or you just think maybe your child would be better in a private school, they'll pay up to $10,000 for that, so you can save money for that. But otherwise, you put money in this account, it grows tax-free, you take it out tax-free, and then you can use it at any accredited 2-year school, 4-year school, grad school in the country. And there's about 600 of them around the world.
Right. Everybody in South Carolina.
Yeah.
Every school in South Carolina.
Every school in South Carolina. And there are also some specialty schools, some of these cordon bleu cooking schools and things like that. I've not checked it out yet, but I understand there's an accredited golf school down in Florida. So, if you're 50 years old, you're going to retire at 55 or 60.
Now you're talking.
You can start your own thing and you
now
go
you're
down
talking.
there. Yeah. And they teach at Coastal Carolina. They have golf course management and all that kind of thing.
Right.
You can go down there. It's pretty cool.
Are we talking tuition only? You mentioned a minute ago. You can use it on other things,
yeah.
right?
For private school, K through 12 is tuition only.
Yeah.
But for colleges, room and board, computers. You can't buy yourself a new car, but you can do a lot. I know a guy who retired early, went to Pepperdine. He and his wife to law school. They sit on the hill overlooking Malibu and the ocean every night.
Yeah.
And wise money planning.
There you go. I wish I had done it. I've got 2 kids now that are college age, and I did not do it. But you best believe that they will be doing it because I'll be having the conversation with them fairly soon. Lots of tax implications here. Yeah. Talk to us about that. You
can beat the tax man 3 times.
Yeah.
And that's something every good Republican wants to do. When you make that contribution, it's a state tax deduction. When it grows in the fund, just like an IRA, it's all tax-free. And when you pull it out, it's tax-free. So that's 3 times. But the flexibility is great. Up until April the 18th, because April 18th is tax year this year. It's tax day this year. You can make a contribution or open an account and make a contribution, and it counts against last year's taxes. So you can go back. So if you, depending on what you made last year, you might be looking for a few deductions. You can count it against last year's taxes.
No minimum contribution, right?
That's right.
Right. And you get to choose your investments. There's the ability, just like in any IRA, to control those investments and where they go. What kind of options do you have?
Well, we have the direct plan, which is the low fee plan. When I negotiated that contract, the Wall Street Journal said you broke the model. Your fees were so low. Well, then what happens in government? Everybody FOAs my contract, and they go tell their guys, hey, we want the same deal. So I went from being the leader to now I'm tied with everybody else. They cheat. But the direct plan, the fees are so low, and once you take the taxes out of the equation, that's a home run to start with. And then we have, of course, age-based. If your kid is 0 age, we know how much volatility that is all done. You can pick that, or you can pick any age, and we'll age-base it so that you'll know that you'll have the right kind of volatility and time for the investment. And then, as you get 18, 19, close to college or 17, it goes more and more into bonds and cash. So it looks after you pretty well. We also have the advisor plan, and a lot of folks do these advisor plans because they have somebody as a financial advisor, and they work with them in their personal portfolio, so they take that over. And that works out real well. The only extra fee there is whatever the advisor charges you. And you can roll over fees. Say you move here from New Jersey. You can take your 529 account there and roll it over to South Carolina's plan, And where New Jersey didn't have a tax deduction, we do.
You were talking about the fees being low. As I recall, 2 years ago, we were sitting here, and South Carolina fees were among the lowest, yes, if not the lowest in the United States. How is that? How does that compare now that everyone's caught up to you?
Well, we're kind of all tied because I don't think there's any more room.
Yeah.
You know, when you deal in finances, you know, we all have our friends in finance, so we got to be careful here. But you never actually know the bottom line because there's a lot of transfer fees and all these things. But we feel really comfortable that you're not going to pay any extras in fees. I have some private wealth guys who I love that do my personal portfolio. Let's just say they aren't nearly as sensitive with the fees as the state plan is.
Yeah, I can imagine. Anyone can invest in this, right? If you open this for your child, well, you just alluded to it here a second ago, talking about nieces and nephews and that kind of thing. But if you open this for your child, grandparents can invest, and tell us how that works.
Well, exactly that. We've got it. So on the website, you can just hit a button and do e-payments. You want to ACH it or something, yeah, electronic payments, or you can do it the old-fashioned way and right, hand them a check at Christmas time. You can do it either way. When I was young in office, I shot my mouth off to my brothers and sisters. Oh yeah, if I'm in office, those grandkids start getting born and these nieces and nephews, I'll start them accounts and I'll put some money in it. I stayed in office too long. I've got 5 that I have to do before the 18th. And so it doesn't take long, but I'm lazy when it comes to computers and things. So probably today when I get home, I'm going to sit down and do all 5 of them and fund them to some point because I promised them I would. But see, I can own the accounts, put the money in there, and make sure everything's like I like it, mm-hmm, and then turn it over to the parents when I'm ready to. And there's no fee to it.
Right. Curtis, that is good information. I tell you what, I appreciate you coming here just like I did a couple years ago. But before we leave, before I let you go, let's just let's talk about South Carolina's economy in general. I mean, things are good, right?
The state government is bursting at the seams with money.
Yeah.
And of course, the budget writers hate it when I say that, but you
know. Bursting at the seams with money. I think that's going to be a headline soon, folks.
We opened earlier than most, and we never shut down like some of the other states. So yeah, we kept it going. When the Fed started borrowing money and sending it to us, we said, sure, thanks. Send it on. Right. And it was the funniest thing. We'd be on these conversations, the national conversations with the blue states and red states, all the state treasurers, be with Treasury or the White House or someplace. And the red states would say, yeah, send us the money. And if we can't spend it all, how do we send it back? And the blue states are on there, we're broke, send us more money. Can we take theirs? But South Carolina, it's amazing. We are a very conservative state with debt. You know, we have very little debt left at the state level, and it's fallen off so quickly. It won't be, but I should check, but it's just a few years before it's all gone. But the sales tax and gas tax and all those things with the borrowed money from D.C., it brought everything up. Normally this time of year, we'd have $21 or $22 billion in the bank and invested. We had $34 billion. Right. The counties are flush. The cities are flush. They don't talk about it like I do, but they are, I can tell you. So there's lots of money. If you're out there in a business or a 501c3 or an organization that can do business with the state, now's a great time to go talk, get to the procurement office, to go talk to the regional offices. It's a great time. They're starting new programs because money was sent to do just that. And so we're going to have some cheat sheets develop here shortly. A lot of it has to do with what you're so interested in, economic development. Commerce has gotten more money, the Ports Authority's gotten more money, the COGS and the regional economic development folks are set for more money. So we can expect good things to come, and if it doesn't, it wasn't because we didn't have enough money.
I was driving to Charlotte this past weekend, and I drove through 29 miles of construction between Spartanburg and Charlotte on the South Carolina side. We need a lot of work on our roads. We're bursting at the seams with available dollars. What's our roads going to look like in a couple of years?
Well, my drive up here was the same thing. It was solid traffic the whole way. I felt like I was going to a Carolina game. We've poked our nose under the tent at DOT. The Treasurer's Office has. And I promise you, we've made some changes. And then Christy Hall, who's the director, she's been there a little while now, but she's not an old hand. She's fresh. And they're doing a fantastic job. And she's got one of the few jobs that the more work she does, the worse it looks. If you've got a pothole in your street, you can dodge that pothole. You know where it is. But if there's a man standing there with an orange flag that says stop, you see it. And like you went through all that construction, you would have been fine if there hadn't been construction. But she's got to do it. So the biggest problem we have now is finding contractors. But I do want to, I think I'm the only elected official left that speaks up for DOT. They have more projects going on than they've ever done before. They've cut the time limits down on everything. They've changed the way they finance. We do more cash financing than borrowing, so they don't have as many restrictions. They can get ahead of the game. But building a big road or remodeling one, you put your nose in there and you see those spreadsheets. Like, how many subcontractors are we going to have in year 4? How many new cases of litigation we have in year 6? What will be the asphalt price in year 7? I mean, you start thinking about all those things, and you say, it's a wonder they ever do it at all. So I have a lot of confidence in DOT, just like the ports. They're doing a fantastic job. Now, we've given them a lot of money, but they're really moving forward with the Leatherman Terminal and the intermodal railroad down there. Palmetto Railways is doing a fantastic job.
I have confidence in the DOT as well. However, it takes dollars.
Yes.
It takes dollars to fix the things that we need fixed. Now, when I was talking about that construction piece between Spartanburg and Charlotte, I'm not complaining about the construction. Construction is meant to fix problems that need to be fixed. The problem is we've got so many problems that need to be fixed. Are we going to be able to have those dollars earmarked to fix these types of issues that we see, not only on the interstates, but we're talking on state roads and in neighborhoods, those types of things that were so long overdue.
Yeah.
For.
We should have given DOT money sooner than we did. We waited too long to raise the gas tax. But now, money is not the issue. The issue now is just the logistics of it. You can say, okay, we've got the $75 or $200 million, whatever it takes, to do this stretch of road. We don't have a contractor. It's a real problem. So we're hoping that as the economy cuts back, other states will. We've got the money, we can go forward. I mentioned just now that the state has very little debt, which is a great thing, especially as we head into some uncertain times. But if other states slack off on a lot of their infrastructure spending, more than just at the DOT level, but other types of infrastructure, we have debt capacity. We could quadruple our debt, and it still is not important. It's like a millionaire having a $10,000 loan on his house. It's just not a big deal. And I'm a conservative. I don't like debt that much. But it's a great way to save money, especially at low rates, because you could run your programs without interruption. You don't have the hiring and firing. Right. But if you know a good road contractor, send them on.
I think I will do that. I'll check my Rolodex. Curtis, thank you. I appreciate you being here.
Good seeing you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Folks, that is Curtis Loftis, and he is the state's banker, South Carolina State Treasurer, in his 3rd term, soon to be going into a 4th term. Yeah. And appreciate him stopping by. Folks, stick around on SC Biz TV, see if there's anything else you might like to catch, and we will see you next time.